What's up, nerds? We got episode 34. We're back in action. We're talking Baldur's Gate. We're talking Starfield. We're talking Destiny controversy. Let's get into it.
All right, so welcome back to you. Welcome back to me. Welcome back to everyone. It's been, I think, a month since we've had a podcast or any form of content.
Or
I had,
longer.
yeah, I think a little longer. I had the flu, and then we both left for training for 3 weeks. So we're back. Took a week off to kind of recharge the batteries, but we came back to a lot of good
Very
video
good.
games. First topic. Well, you know what? It'll roll into the first topic. But since you've been back, what have you been playing, man?
Well, I fired up some Ratchet and Clank. Bought that for PC right when I got back. Um, Only played it, got through the intro. I've created my character in Baldur's Gate and got through like maybe the first part of the tutorial. And then I have been grinding some Team Fight Tactics. It's a League of Legends video game that you can play on mobile or desktop.
I saw that it was Game Pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw. I don't know what it is. So it's just a MOBA, you said?
No, it's for mobile or desktop, and it's just like a strategy game in the League of Legends universe.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you said MOBA. Mobile.
Mobile.
Um, was that just because of like lack of time? You've been playing that versus like your PC or what?
It just like got me hooked. I don't
You're
know. It's like,
addicted? You're
yeah, it's like this like strategy. Um, I don't know. It's one of those like, yeah, it's just like that you just get consumed into these like strategy games, and
yeah.
you have to. It's like super random, and you have to like try and play these strategies, and you never know if it's going to hit, and so you have to be able to like adjust. And I don't know. It's like addicting because it's like simple but intriguing.
So is it PvP or PvE or
Yeah,
both?
PvP.
Okay.
So you play
Okay.
up with like 8 other players, and you just like round robin each other continuously, and then like you win and you take off some of their like life points. You just keep going until you're the last man standing.
I feel like you're a sucker for games like that. Like I like Pokemon that Pokemon MOBA, any MOBA, and then any like tactical like
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yep.
want to say simplistic game, but you know what I mean, like something you can pick up on your
Yeah, I mean it's
mobile
been out
device.
for a while, and I first played it, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't understand this game at all. And then my brother started playing it, and all my friends play it, and I was like, fine. And so one night I stayed up way too late, middle of the week, and I just like couldn't stop. But I was getting the absolute dog kicked out of me, and now I'm addicted.
That's awesome. It's always good when you like I don't know, I feel like I go through stages like that with like RuneScape. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like one of those games where no one really understands why you play it, but it's just like it's an addiction and it's hard to explain, but you love every minute of it until you get done with
Mm-hmm.
addiction. You're like, oh my lord, I just
I
wasted the
put so
last year
much
of my
time.
life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, cool, man. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank. I've been wanting to pick it up. I've been holding off just because right now there's so many games coming out. I almost want to pick it up to play it with my daughter Leah.
Oh yeah,
I think I
such a
was
kid-friendly game. It's
yeah, I was thinking I
awesome.
could plug it into my big screen here. Just HDMI it. You know,
Yep.
get I won't get as high frames and all that, but it'll still be um I don't need it for that game.
Yeah,
You know, it'll
for
be
sure.
kind of one of those things that'll give me the opportunity because it's only like a 10 or 12 hour game, I think.
Yeah, it's not
It's
super long. Me and a
decently
buddy
short,
beat it in like a day, day and a half. Like we
right?
just like both sat there and like played it through pretty casually.
Yeah, so I think I might pick that up for that type of gameplay. And then I started playing Baldur's Gate as soon as I got home. I've owned that game since day one of early access, and I only played it for
Mm-hmm.
an hour for EA. When I found out, you know, it was only the first act, I'm like, I'm such a sucker for story driven games. I didn't want to like know the story, and then when it finally
Mm-hmm.
launched, I would have to be replaying stuff. I also didn't
That's
know it
tough.
was
That's good on you because I don't know if I would have been able to hold off that long.
yeah, I played essentially I didn't even beat the first part that you just beat. I saw your achievement. So I didn't even beat that. I played literally, an hour, and that included character creation back 3 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. Um, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I waited, just because like everything got ironed out, and the game looks completely different than it did back on early access when I first played. Just like the UI and stuff.
That's what they said. I didn't believe them that much, but
Oh,
I'm
it's
like,
definitely different. All the character sheets, everything like that. Your character emblems, your profiles up in the top. It looks a lot different. Very noticeable, and if you played it. But so yeah, I picked that up or I installed that, I should say. It's funny because the game has hooked me in a different way than I was expecting. I was expecting to get, because I'm a huge Larian fanboy, you know that.
mm-hmm. Yep.
I was expecting to start the game and just be up till 2 in the morning every night, not be able to put it down. And I actually didn't have that. So
Hmm.
the first night I played, I'm like, oh, this is really good. I was excited. Um, and then I kind of hit a lull, and I kept playing it, but I'm like, man, do I really like? Am I that interested in this? Because they do. I was expecting to go into a tactical RPG, kind of like Divinity 1 and 2. It's not like that at all. So it's very role playing focused, which is good because you can essentially work any build you want. If you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
a fighter, sorcerer, fighter, warlock, you can do whatever the hell you want. It's going to work, which I really appreciated. But I caught myself in this time where there wasn't a lot of combat, and it was strictly just cinematics, which is okay, but you need to be in the right mood to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing late at night, and I'm like, I'm just kind of chunking away at it, playing an hour or two. But then I hit like specifically, I want to say it was Thursday or Friday night. I hit like 15 hours in, and like the story started coming together, the combat started coming together, because combat was very boring in the beginning for me because you don't have a lot of
Mm,
skills and this and that.
right.
It was fun the first couple times I did it, but then I was like, it's kind of just click here, click there. You only have a couple spells per character. But then all of a sudden that night, combat came together, the story came together, and I was super engaged. And now I'm addicted as hell. I'm on that path that I was like with DOS 2, because DOS 2 got me hooked from the get go, because it was all character build focused, tactics. And I'm at the point where I have enough spells to work with that I can really walk into a fight and like control the situation with my characters, with the spells I have,
Mm-hmm.
with the builds I'm working. But I'm super happy, man. They knocked out of the park. There are some issues with the game, very small in my opinion, but we can kind of talk that, because I know there's a topic you wanted to hit on regarding that, and the we can talk about it. It's all over the internet. I'm sure everyone's heard about it. But you can take it away with that.
All right. So yeah, everyone's heard that other developers are afraid that people are going to be expecting Baldur's Gate to like raise the bar or raise the standard for an RPG. And like they're a lot of the developers are like um don't expect our game to do that.
You there?
Yeah, my camera froze.
Row. Enhance. There you go. Hello.
Had to reset it. Hopefully that's not going to keep doing that all night.
I don't know.
But yeah, and so I mean, I don't know if all the developers are like afraid that kind of like that thing. But do you think that other developers should like learn from what Larian's done here for RPGs and try and make their games better, or learn from like what Larian has done really really well? Or do you think they're A, should, or B, are they going to just keep doing what they've been doing and stay on their path?
Yeah, I think the reason I think it's beaten like a dead horse and kind of blown out of proportion. Um, like I said before, I'm a huge Larian fan. They
Mm-hmm.
listen to their community, they take their time with games, and you can tell they're truly passionate about what they do. So when Baldur's Gate came out, I was expecting this level of polish.
Okay.
Um, I just was. Divinity 1 and 2, or I don't know about 1, but Divinity 2 was in early access for a really long time. Baldur's Gate 3 was obviously in early access for a really long time, which pisses people off. But the same note, like Larian takes the time to polish the shit out of everything that they touch.
Mhm.
So I was expecting it. I was expecting it to be this good. Now, only Act 1 was in early access, and I heard there are a few issues in the later game that no one's
Mhm.
talking about because all these people, the vast majority, because it's, I don't want to say on average, but a lot of the times people's playthroughs, even for Act 1, it takes them like between, we'll say 40 and 60 hours just for Act 1. Well,
Yeah.
Act 1 was what early access is.
Right.
So all
So
these
it's super
people are,
polished.
it's super polished. All these people are blowing this up and be like, oh, you know, this game is perfect. Okay, it's not
True.
perfect. I love the
Mhm.
shit out of it. It's very, very polished, but it's not perfect. Act 1 is close to perfect because it was in early access for a long time. Now, not a lot of people are talking about later in the game. So, and there are bugs. People aren't talking about the bugs.
Mhm.
There are bugs, like they're not game breaking bugs from what I can tell, but they are there. So, um, should other developers be scared? I don't think they should be scared and like change. They should change what they're doing, but I don't think one game is going to impact the community as hard as people are like calling for, I guess, because you're looking at other shit that's been released. Now you have huge community uproars and the developers don't give a shit. So why are people thinking a really good game is going to make people change their, or developers, and not developers but publishers change what they're doing, I guess. That's why I think
Sales
it's kind of a
numbers.
stupid, I think it's a kind of a stupid conversation that people are
Um,
blowing up, you know what I mean?
yeah, but like, how many? Okay, so I think what for me when I heard it, I not only was it like the polish of the game and how it launched with like very little bugs, like they are there, but
Mhm.
compared to almost every other AAA game we've got this year,
Yep.
like it's pretty darn smooth. Um, and then yeah, some of the later stuff, Digital Foundry looked into it a little bit, and it, I guess most of or a lot of the third act takes place in Baldur's Gate, and there's just hundreds of NPCs,
Mhm.
and so it comes down to just like running the logic for all these NPCs and making the city feel alive and really busy.
Right.
It's like really taxing on your computer, and then it extrapolates some of the like already CPU bound issues that the game kind of like already has. Um, but with that aside, I think it's just like RPG wise is like this is actually a role playing game. Your
Mhm.
choices matter. Your conversations are different. You get new conversations based on either what you've done or what your classes are. And I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like the old RPGs that used to do that are no longer doing that anymore. And you know, like we're like BioWare, you just get one storyline. You're you can choose to say whatever you want to say, but it has no effect on what the person says back to you
Yep.
and what like the story of the game, like where it goes. And so it's like, yeah, you're like kind of role playing, but like, does it matter? Not at all.
Mhm.
So you know, they get the days of like KOTOR where you can win in an evil ending and win in a good ending. You get all you know these like different endings based on like your decisions and how you play through the game. Um, I feel like they've like gone away, right? Like, I mean, Harry Potter is good, and you get to choose kind of what you say, and some of it can affect to an extent, but there's no good and bad ending. You can't choose to be an evil wizard or a good wizard. There's no morality system. It's a and granted that you know I think they chose that for an artistic like approach where they didn't want to get into that and they wanted people to like mess around with these really cool bad spells that they created, but it also just kind of seemed like they didn't even want to try and touch how complex that is going to be.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to keep happening.
Uh-oh. What's it doing?
The like the capture card's just freezing up, just locks up.
Hmm. You wanna,
I literally unplug it USB, plug it back in, and it fixes itself. I don't know.
Do you want to keep
But
trying?
yeah, we'll keep going. I mean, it
Okay.
wouldn't be a True Nerds podcast if we didn't run into technical issues after
Yeah,
a break.
right. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% on the role playing aspect of it. I've noticed during this game, there's no good and evil decisions. There is multiple level decisions that you can be making. Like I just got done with the quest where a leader of a area told me to go kill a different leader of an area. I got to that said area and there was another group there who was technically my enemy, but I sided with them to help me kill the leader. And then I
Hmm.
betrayed him and then released some people and then went back and got money from like all people that I. So there's no like just good or bad, right? Like if I was
Hmm.
just strictly good,
Yep.
I would have gone there, talked it through, but there's so many different layers of what you can do that it's like it actually forces you to make decisions that actually test you as a person for like your morality. They knock that out of
Hmm.
the park. 100% I agree with that. That
Yeah,
that
I
is
think
the standard.
they
It's
took the morality system and like tripled, quadrupled down, right? Because like you don't have an overall morality system, but if you screw this group of people over, their friends are going to kind of remember it and be like, oh yeah, you're this person, or they're going to immediately attack you or be more aggressive to you based on your decisions. Or
mhm.
if you kill this person, they don't show up
Yep.
down the road for another like storyline that could have either helped you or done whatever else, but like it directly affects your gameplay in the story like down the road,
Yeah.
or at least like the side quest portion of it. So um, yeah, I mean my from like my opinion on it is like I think developers should be worried, and I think they should take a long, good hard look at like what they're calling role playing games, and they need to do better with the system. Like I think what really sticks out to me is Anthem, and even though I like loved the looter shooter aspect of that game, the story, like you, you chose what to say, but it was the same. You're on roller coaster like rails, like train tracks, like the entire story through.
Yeah.
There was no variation. There's no nothing. Um, and I feel like I haven't played like a good game like that since like KOTOR. Um, so I think we need to bring. I think the variety and the varying like things that you can do offers replayability. It brings interest. It brings something way more intriguing to the story that you can like keep playing through. Um, that the current RPGs just like aren't doing, and they're not doing for me anyway.
Right. No, I agree 100%. They have set the standard, replayability wise, morality system wise, choices, all of that. Like I'm already, I've re-rolled the character twice, just kind of testing out what I wanted. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
get the nice thing is I didn't get stuck on the character builder like I did in Divinity, 1 and 2, because a lot of the builds work, right? So I didn't get
Mm-hmm.
like hard stuck. Um, but I'm already thinking, hey, what's my next playthrough going to be? They knocked that out of the park. The standard is set, yes, but as far as like other developers worrying, the reason I don't like how it's being worded, I don't think they give a shit. Like I don't think those publishers care enough to be worried about it. So I think it's just getting blown out of proportion. Instead of like, in my opinion, the game is it's not perfect, but it's close. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I was going to make an article on it, like, hey, they did a phenomenal job. They set the standard, blah blah blah. But I feel like people are just like blowing it out of proportion, trying to like start headlines. Because, like I
Yeah,
said,
for
with
sure. There's some like clickbait there. There's some. It's a great story to run with.
mhm,
I really think it's going to come down to sales, though. Like if Anthem, those type of games keep selling with no variation in story, and they're labeled, RPG. Um, if they keep selling there, yeah, they're not going to change like what they're doing. But if like the community's like, hey, we got a taste of what Baldur's Gate can do, we got a taste of what an RPG should be.
yeah,
We're not buying this game because it's not
I
really an RPG.
I hope that happens. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to think I'm like anti. Like I want this to be the future. I'm just trying to be a realistic be a realist and be realistic. There we go. Words
Are
are
you not
hard.
going to buy a game if the RPG elements aren't up to snuff?
I mean, you know me, I already do it. You know, I'll sit on a game forever. I still haven't even bought like
That's true.
Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I've been burned so many times that I don't pre-purchase anymore unless I know like Larian trusted them from software, trust them. Um, but like
Yeah, I don't
even
know if I really trust any developers because I have been, we've been burned by companies that we like absolutely put our faith in.
Mhm.
But if I know I'm going to 100% play the game, no matter what, even if it's dog crap, like day one, I'm going to play it, then I'm going to pre-purchase it.
Yeah, I think you
Right.
and me
So like,
are very different in that because I know you'll sit there and buy games all the time, and I'll be like, dude, I'm surprised. Dan doesn't even like that genre, but it was like, it looked cool, so you bought it. I sit back and I like puzzle piece, kind of like what my future is going to look like for gameplay. And I think it's
mm-hmm,
that way because of honestly having kids, because I really had to. I used to not be that way. I used to pre purchase the shit out of everything. But then,
right,
like, having a lack of time, I started I kept pre purchasing stuff, and then all of a sudden, it's like, I only get to play one of those games. And if I'm
right.
burned, I'm like, oh, I just lost $60. Now you're losing $70. But yeah,
Sure.
I hope, you know, like Starfield, hope it's awesome. You know, any of these games coming out like Lords of the Fallen, I'm super stoked for that October release. I hope these games do well and deliver what they've been saying. I just don't I just don't know if devs and publishers are willing to go the extra mile that Larian has gone to create a fully polished game like this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, heck, even if there like was bugs and it had a bit of a rocky launch, if it still had the like massive choice system that it has, I'd call it a win and call it, hey, they're trying to do way more than all these other companies, and
mhm.
they're at the same level of like polish standard, but I think they went above and beyond, and they released a pretty overly all polished game.
I think,
Um,
sorry,
yeah, just that was it.
I think the reason this is such a big deal for people is it's the first AAA game that has been polished in how many years? Like truly polished. I think that's the big deal because you look, there's a lot of AA games, a lot of B games that are really, really, really good on PC, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not that AAA like big budget polish. So that's
Right.
where I think this has turned into a huge deal. But yeah, overall, man, the game has me hooked now. It did take longer than I was expecting, like I said, but like now I'm
Yeah, it's a slower kind of play game. Definitely like it's not it's like action oriented, and it really does like triple down into that the role playing
D&D,
aspect.
man.
Like, yeah,
Just you
exactly.
have your narrator. So DOS 1 and 2 had a narrator, right? You'd walk in a room, like you walked into the room and blah 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 blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. This is really owning it because it's not an open world RPG. It is very blocked off, and it's like you walked into this temple or you walked into this area, and there's like one main thing that happens to you there. It's either a fight or it's a conversation or it's a conversation that turns into a fight, and it's very like blocked off. Which once the story gets going, it's phenomenal because honestly, me personally, I'm not sick of open world games, but I hate open world games right now that are just barren and full of BS. So it's
Mm-hmm.
nice just to have a very secluded area that you're exploring. You can kind of clear the map as you want, and you're just doing that role playing as you go. And there's so many,
Right.
dude. Every single NPC is voice acted. It's phenomenal.
It's
It's
wild.
I'm going up to a trader and he has a full life story behind him. You're like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm. I
Good.
think that I think really like how does Larian? Obviously, they've made like a few niche successful games, right? Like Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 are like successful, but like they're not household name games.
It's
So
yeah,
I've never
it's a
played them.
niche. Yep.
The only way I've heard about them is from you. My brother's never heard of them. And so they like broke into the mainstream on this one, like hardcore, and they they had the budget to voice act everyone.
Yeah.
You're telling me that these AAA games with millions and millions of dollars to say, "Oh, voice acting is too expensive. We can't do this." How is how is Larian like doing this? Like they're not owned by a bunch, or they're not owned by Microsoft or
Right.
Sony or any of these other big like conglomerate like gaming companies. How did they find the ability to like make this work?
And good voice acting. It's not cringy voice acting. It's good voice acting. Like every character sounds different so far, and I've 20. I think I just hit 26 hours in, and
Mm-hmm.
every character sounds different and good. And I actually like. I'm not skipping dialogue unless I'm like I've already like
Mm-hmm.
dealt with the same trait or whatever.
Right. And that I think attests to like the game director, because a lot of these like voice actors, they'll just get a script and they just, or like their lines, and they just say read the lines,
Mm-hmm.
and they have no context to the lines. They don't know what emotional state they should be read in. They don't know anything else, and so they're just they can't get into it there. And so um the game director or person in charge of that, coaching them, explaining the scenario to them, explaining all these different dialogue options that they might get to get somebody in the voice actors like in the right like mindset and to hit the right like vocal cadence and stuff is insane, and how much work they had to do to get all that working.
And just to say too, you can tell all these developers understand D&D lore and 5 rules, because like I said, I'm not super versed in the lore, but I've been reading the books. I'm on the 3rd book of the Dark Elf trilogy. I've said that a couple times to you and on the podcast, and there's so many little things in this freaking game that just blow my mind. Like, I'm in the, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's been a lot of times where I'm like, holy shit. Like I remember that specifically from the lore in the book I'm reading, or like I told you, I was getting mistreated for being a drow
Mm-hmm.
until I mentioned that I don't follow Lol, which is, the drow's Spider Queen goddess. And the minute I mentioned that, they started treating me well. They're like, "Oh, you're one of those drow." I'm like, "Yeah, fucker." Like, dude, it's so cool. The amount of detail that they put into this game. So
Yeah, that's insane. That's so cool.
it is going to be. I'm curious to see how many people are going to actually like play through it, because it is such a
Mm-hmm.
slow
So
burn.
huge.
Like, yeah, it's huge. I mean, it took me 3 times to even go through, and like DOS 2, I probably have 200 plus hours in that game, and I've only got to the ending once, and I didn't even beat it, because I like my party could not finish this last encounter. You can say get good or whatever, but I just watched the ending. I was literally the last fight. I'm like, no more. I can't do it anymore. And this game's even bigger. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I think what me and you are gonna do, kind of once I get past the single player portion of it, just do like a D&D weekly, man. Play 3-4 hours one night a week, build characters together, and they'll kind of force us to like keep playing the game, do different
Mm-hmm.
roles, stuff like that. I think a lot of people should do that.
For
Um,
sure. I mean, this is D&D, and a lot of like D&D campaigns like don't finish or get to an end goal of anything. They just like it becomes like too busy, or everybody dies, or like kind of like whatever else. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of like time. Like I had been playing D&D for the past kind of like year or so. I think every other week, and you're spending 2-3 hours a week kind of doing that, and not you might only actually get like an hour of progression,
mhm.
because people are figuring out like how they want to play a situation. They're figuring out like what they want to do. Um, they're doing all their calculating things. They're contemplating what they should buy or whatever else. And so um yeah, this game just kind of like follow like almost, it's almost a little bit sped up, more of like what D&D like actually is
There's
kind of
no
describing.
calculation. It's just dice roll. Boom.
Yep.
You got your 20 and your 6 or your 8 or whatever. And I'm learning a lot about D&D. Like too, there's so many different rules for character build, spell casting, stuff
Hmm.
like that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's when people actually like commit the like, hey, like I've heard a lot about D&D. It's really interesting. I know some people who are playing. I want to play. one of the biggest barriers is like, how do you create a character?
Yep.
Because there's so many options. They all are meaningful, like down the road. You have to put like skill points in different things that affect different skills and roles and stuff like that. And if you've never played before, you have no idea how you should be building that character to like what you want to do. And this gives you a really good taste of like all those things, and so you can go in. There's obviously a lot more in real D&D, but you can have a really good idea of like how a character is going to play and like how to build a character just from like playing through this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. But moving on from that, let's talk Starfield. So I keep trying to pre-purchase it. I keep telling myself not to. I want to ask you. I don't have Game Pass right now, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't like. I like Game Pass, but for a game like this that I know I'm going to play years down the road, I know they are going to re-release and re-release and re-release the shit out of it, just like Skyrim.
Yep.
So I buy it on Steam. I'm looking at the deluxe edition.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything positive in there, and I want to know your opinion on it because it doesn't say future DLC. It says storyline, blah, whatever they say. So that's telling me it's like, this is how I'm reading into it. It's not a 10-hour DLC. It's not whatever. It's one of those Bethesda storyline inserts, a very small DLC, and that's going to be like 1 to 3 hours long. So you got that, you got some cosmetics, you got like digital art book. I don't look at those. So those are kind of out of the window for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's got that stupid 5-day early access thing. Which I'm going to be playing Baldur's Gate until I'm finished. I'm not going to jump. I'm not going to do that because I know I won't go finish Baldur's Gate. So I'm on a good, honestly, I still got 2 weeks. And, you know, within a week, I've put in 26 hours. So I should, yeah, don't judge me. I should be able to at least get one playthrough done. Should I go for the deluxe edition, or is that story insert just gonna be a waste of my money? Dude, it's $30 more.
Yeah.
That seems like a fucking ripoff, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just reading into it too much?
No, that does seem like a ripoff. I don't think it's worth it, and I don't think I'm gonna do it either. I think I'm gonna like buy the game no matter what and play it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, me too. 100%.
really the only thing that I think I'd be playing is the 5-day early access. And it's not worth $30. No way.
What's your
I hate when
opinion?
game companies do that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what's your opinion on that? I think it's stupid. I think it's like you are making people pay to play test your shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion on it. Especially in a multiplayer game, it's like, okay,
And the
now you have
pods
the
and
now you have a leg up. The only time I saw a company do that good was when if you bought the big edition for Modern Warfare 2, you got the campaign a week early. I thought that was very intelligent because like me as a player, I want to have the campaign done first. Now it doesn't force me to do multiplayer later. You know, after doing the campaign.
That is really smart. Me as a dumb consumer, I didn't notice the campaigns. I bought it thinking I could play multiplayer, and I was like, oh, I don't play the campaigns.
That sucks.
Yep. Because it just, a lot of the marketing was like 5-day early access. And then like in either much smaller font or down here, you know, asterisk, they'd be like campaign early access, right? And so yeah, they're scummy.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty scummy money grab. I feel like if it was a physical edition with some of those add-ons,
oh, that'd be a no-brainer. I'd pay $100 for that all day long.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be worth it, but like a digital art book, it costs them like nothing to make or produce or send out. There's no like collector's aspect to it, and so I hate when they label it like a digital collector's edition or premium edition, kind of like BS. But I guess it'll be kind of nice that like I can watch some streamers play it and see like how the performance is and get a feel for the game before I start it.
Yeah, I was talking to Matt and just about the game in general because when I got home, I'm like, man, I don't want. I want to start Baldur's Gate, but I don't want to. He's like, well, dude, think about it this way, because I played every Bethesda game since I was in middle school. At launch, he's like, think about how rocky the launch is gonna be. This gonna be buggy as shit. He's like, why don't you play Baldur's Gate? Give it a week.
Mm,
They'll
mhm,
introduce at least 1 to 2 patches, hopefully, and then you can
mhm.
kind of, you know, just wait as long as you're okay with the hype being gone, which sucks. But that's why I'm kind of wanting to get Armored Core 6
Mm.
and kind of use that to supplement if I'm getting like burned out of Baldur's Gate, and then because that comes out in
A week this
four
week?
4 days. Yep,
Yeah.
Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Do you
yeah.
think Starfield should be worried about Baldur's Gate? Do you think that's going to take some of their sales, or do you think it's such a massive game that people are going to buy both, kind of
I
no matter what?
I think people are gonna buy both, and the reason I say that is they're not. You can't compare them side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're both RPGs. One is a CRPG, which is a
Yep.
very niche game, very niche genre. Not many, like you just said earlier, not many people even knew who Larian Studios were. They don't know what CRPGs are. Like, I guarantee if you talk to the thousands and thousands of people that bought Baldur's Gate 3, there's going to be a huge chunk of that community that's never played Pathfinder. They've never played Pillars of Eternity, Divinity,
Mm-hmm.
Sims 1 and 2, Salad, like all these CRPGs. So I think that the hardcore people that are into CRPGs are going to buy both. And then I think the people that aren't into CRPGs are definitely going to buy Starfield because they were just on the hype train of an RPG when Baldur's Gate 3 got purchased. That's just my opinion. And then two, you're looking at a very, very role-playing heavy game versus a individual role-playing game that doesn't really go deep into character building. It's more of a
Mm-hmm.
sandbox focus, like, hey, dungeon crawler, or at least that's what Bethesda's kind of known for. But
Mm-hmm.
if they go as deep on characters as Baldur's Gate 3 did, I'm gonna be blown away because I don't think that they could focus that many resources on the planet exploration and the character modeling.
Right.
I don't think it's possible. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely like bigger games, and they're the only thing they really share is the like role playing nature. But they're going about it in different ways. But I think you can compare them as like they are both like $60 or $70 role playing games that are launching, how many ever days like apart, and so a month apart or whatever. And people, a lot of people like don't play that. They can't get through entire Baldur's Gate playthrough, or they had to wait a couple weeks and then they bought Baldur's Gate. And so now are they gonna like stop their Baldur's Gate playthrough to buy Starfield? I don't know. It's a lot tougher if they're really enjoying it, or they see themselves having 100 more hours of Baldur's Gate. How can you go be super excited to be like, oh, I'm gonna go explore 1,000 planets? Um,
So two things. One, Larian made the best move ever because they're making consumers have this discussion right now. The
mhm.
original launch date was like August 28th. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah,
They moved
and
it back a whole month because if they would have kept it like end of
moved it
August
up a month.
or up a month, excuse me, they moved
Okay.
it up to early August. It was originally
Yep.
supposed to be the end of August.
Hmm.
If they wouldn't have done that, consumers wouldn't even be having this discussion. Most of them, because that big group I talked to you or just said, would just be buying Starfield. They would never have
Yep.
tried a CRPG because that's such a niche market.
Hundred
So that's
percent.
that's awesome on them. And two, this game creates FOMO because there's so many different routes and playthroughs, character builds, good, evil, middle, role
Hmm.
playing options that people are literally getting addicted to this shit and like, I need to do another playthrough. I need to see what happens if I do this.
Hmm.
I think that might cause an issue for Bethesda, but I don't know. It'll be really interesting because One, it's an Xbox exclusive, so Xbox PC exclusive.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because
Yep.
Baldur's Gate currently will be a PlayStation PC kind of exclusive until they can get the Xbox Series S figured out.
Yeah. That's funny.
So that is funny. So I guess like PlayStation people will buy Baldur's Gate and Xbox people will play or buy Starfield, and then PC people are the only people that
Both,
have to make
baby.
this decision.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm rooting for both of them, man. Like I don't like seeing companies fail. I want to see Bethesda back to the frickin' this powerhouse that they used to be. I used to be such a fanboy of them, dude. Like anytime anyone mentioned Bethesda, got their back. And then then Fallout 76 came out. And then Wolfenstein Youngbloods just like ruined a lot of things. So.
Yeah, they were really putting all their eggs into the Starfield basket and just trying to pump out some cash cows to get them there.
I'm hoping that like what's his name? Tom, is it Tom?
Todd Howard?
Or Todd, thank you. I hope his passion that he has been stating about this game really, because dude, if this game is anything like Oblivion or Skyrim, or I know a lot of people didn't like Fallout 4, but I love Fallout 4. If this game is anything like that, I'm going to spend hundreds of hours in it, just hundreds.
Yeah, you know, I think as far as the Bethesda game goes, this one piques my interest the absolute most.
Because you're a sci-fi junkie.
Yeah, you know, and when you kept saying that, I was like, no, I like fantasy.
No, you don't.
I like that stuff
huge
too.
Sci-fi guy.
I'm thinking about it, and I was like, I like the idea of fantasy, but I never play it.
Yeah, whenever I think of a role-playing game that I would like love, it always involves sword and board magic. Whenever I imagine you playing a game, it is plasma pistols, you know, shooters, like shit like that. So, but yeah, I think you're gonna love the shit out of this game, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've walked around Skyrim and like, man, this world is absolutely gorgeous. I'm in love with this game, and then I just like stop playing it.
Bounce off of it. Yeah, see, I'm the opposite, man. I'm sitting there looking like I'm a sucker for swords and like anything that's cool looking. So I'll sit there and grind a game for 20 more hours just to like get a sword upgrade. Like I'm all about that.
Visually I love it, and story wise I love the setting too, but like for whatever reason, like whenever space magic and guns are in the question, I just like start shooting stuff, and then I forget all about the fantasy playthrough.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. So I'm kind of in a rough predicament here. So I'm playing Baldur's Gate. Starfield comes out, but you know I'm a huge From Software fan. I want to buy Armored Core 6.
Yeah.
I've never played any mech games besides Titanfall, which you can't really call that a mech game in my opinion. The campaign's probably only going to be between 15 and 20 hours. Do I buy this to supplement like yesterday, for instance, I beat Resident Evil 3. I had a few hours left. I'm like, you know what? Take a break from Baldur's Gate, beat Resident Evil 3. Do I do that with Armored Core?
With it being that short, like, yeah, you could crank it out. You know, like 3 weeks of casually playing and you'd be done with it.
A couple hours, yeah. Because I just know sorry to cut you off. I just know Baldur's Gate and Starfield is going to literally take me through Christmas. I just know myself. And I kind of want to have a supplement game in there somewhere, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you should.
Are you buying it?
I don't know. So when they announced it, I was hyped.
Yeah, dude.
I was all in. I was like, oh my god, I love mechs. I love From Software. Thank God they're like bringing this IP back. Like the more I watch of it, I was like, I don't know. I actually am gonna like this like gameplay style. It seems very like calculated. It seems very like fighter jet-esque, where you know, like, I mean, I love the idea of playing like Ace Combat and doing Top Gun stuff, but like when you're actually sitting there and all you're doing is like spinning like this and working on movement to like get your targets like in the right scope. It's like it's a lot more strategy and action than it is just like
blowing
running and
shit
gunning.
up. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's where I'm kind
exactly.
of feeling too. Now I know they went back to their roots and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, they're doing great." Armored Core is a
Hmm.
very another niche um
Yep.
genre of
Right.
mecha. So no one else makes mech games that I know of.
No, yeah, they've all. I can't believe that like Gundam games like died, and they haven't made like a great Gundam game. It seems like such an easy win.
I think they just came
Um,
out with one this year, didn't they? It was like a
it's dead
multiplayer.
already.
Oh, nice.
They're
Oh
shutting
yeah.
it. They announced they're shutting it down. Yeah, it's like a Gundam Overwatch game, and I was
Yeah.
actually like kind of hyped for it, um, but only in the early access. And then when it like actually
Died.
launched, like I don't know, like nobody was like playing it. I don't know if there was enough like variation in like the your your Gundams or your mechs, and um, yeah, it looked a little like rushed and kind of cheesy. And I feel like they just like with all those kind of things, they just like whenever they come out with them, they try and rush them and just cash in on this like idea of a good game, but they never want to like take the time to like actually flush out one of these like IPs that everybody really wants to love
Yeah,
but
because
can't
Gundam's
because
huge.
yeah, Gundam's massive, but like people like the idea of Gundam, but when you sit down and watch a lot of the like shows, they're they're like okay, they're a lot more childish than you remember. The stories really aren't fleshed out. Like, why are a bunch of orphans piloting mechs in space again? I don't know
Right?
how who's
This makes
given the
no
keys to
sense.
orphans, but um, that's the story. And so, while the combat and a lot of the interpersonal stories are really good, I don't know how where you get orphans piloting them from. Um, but I feel like Gundam and then Digimon are just like, how have you not
Cashed
made an
out.
amazing game for
Yeah.
this? Like Digimon was ahead of its time.
Oh yeah.
We're freaking playing on computers. Computers are everywhere. Internet's everywhere. Pokemon's massive. They're the second highest like monster catcher kind of game to Pokemon, and
Well,
they just
sorry.
flop with games. Like they haven't made a good one since like the PS2.
People were so excited for that Digimon game this year,
I
and then
know.
it
I
it
was.
came out, dude. It was like a story novel, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck?" Because
Mhm.
I was even gonna buy it. I'm like, dude, that's such a perfect Switch game. And then I was watching like ACG. That's the only reviewer I really watched. He didn't even do a review. He did a short. He's like, "So Digimon's different than everyone's expecting," just so you guys know. But yeah, because it
They
was
just seem
supposed
like
to be a
layups.
tactical game, right? It was like a
Yeah.
tactical digi. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they seem so easy to like crush, and nobody like seems to want to take a crack at it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there has to be something behind the scenes, like with IP control or something, because obviously there's great developers out there who would be able to do something good with it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I might
So
every
yeah.
time everyone I've watched, like they just did a 3v3 PvP showcase yesterday, and then a 1v1 showcase PvP. Like people have been playing through full missions, they're doing a bunch of stuff, and everyone has talked nothing but great things about Armored Core. So I might get it one just to give money to From Software. I know they have enough, but you know what? If I like, even if I don't like the game, the fact that they're putting effort into an IP that people love, sure, man. It's $45 on CD keys right now. It's like throw it out there and go to
Yeah,
dinner and
for
spend more.
that, I almost might as well. Kind of like the like this whole like I think I was gonna buy Baldur's Gate 3 like no matter what, even if
Hmm.
it like I didn't like it. Just
Yeah,
was like it's coming out of nowhere and like this Larian Studios that like I personally like had never had any experience with.
that
And they
blows
just
my
make this
mind, dude.
massive game. What other games would I have like played though from Larian? Like Divinity Original Sin, I'd heard you talk about it, but
Every day of my life, I talk about it, about how good it is. Like it's funny. I talked them.
I know what the logo looks like, but I literally can't picture any gameplay.
Yeah.
I've like Google searched it and like, oh yeah, that's the logo of that. But
You want to know why? Did You might not know this? They were a Kickstarter.
really,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember if it was DOS 1 or DOS 2. I think both were actually. They're Kickstarters. They're like, hey, we
Wow.
want to kind of like make a D&D game, but not D&D rules. And they did so
Mm,
well with it that Wizards of the Coast approached them. And I remember seeing that YouTube video. They brought in the lead Alarian to Wizards of the Coast, and no one knew what was going on. And then he was like wearing armor and shit. He was like, yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is our, we got the IP for it. And everybody's like, holy fuck. So, yeah,
so that's
no,
how it went, right? Like, Wizards of the Coast approached Larian
yep.
and wanted him to make a D&D game.
They wanted them to take the Baldur's Gate IP. Because
Okay.
Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, like, I think 1 came out in 1998.
Yeah, they're
And
really
then
old.
they're old.
So Wizards of the Coast owns the rights to those IPs?
Correct. Because they are in the D&D. Baldur's Gate's a
Yep.
city within the D&D realm or world, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure with their like open license though.
They
Wizards of the
had to get
Coast for
permission.
D&D, if
Yeah.
like other game developers can just like make a D&D game
Yeah, I guess.
without like.
I don't know.
Did you hear about Wizards of the Coast renegotiating their open license?
That was a couple months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And it
yeah, it
pissed
was a while
everybody
ago,
off.
Yeah, they almost like D&D almost died right there. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the legalities of it. I just remember them making a YouTube video from Larians because I follow their YouTube channel. They're actually really awesome. Like, dude, community wise, they do these panels just giving update after update after update. And I think the reason they do it that way is because they were Kickstartered. So they needed to provide like justification for people to like invest in them.
Right.
Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't a Kickstarter, to my knowledge. I don't see why it would when you have Wizards of the Coast backing you. Or backing you with the IP kind of deal. But yeah, man, you should look them up. Just like I just enjoy listening to them. Even when I was kind of annoyed that early access took 3 years, I still liked watching the updates. And
Yeah, it's kind of like what we talked about, a couple podcasts ago, where it's like, yeah, we don't really like the early access, but if it leads to a game being released in a really polished state, and they need the money up front to like make sure that they get the job done like right, then it's the least of two evils for sure. But the company has to like be a good company because they can abuse the early access for sure. But I mean, 3 years in early access, and they did a 1.0 release. Like I know a lot of Arc is like still in early access or something stupid like that, and they're about to like do Arc 2. So I don't know what's going on there.
Last thing we can talk about Baldur's Gate, then we can move on. We keep going back. That's just such a good time to be a gamer. So much stuff going on with that game, but one thing I really did like. So you didn't buy the game early access, did you? So I bought it early access day one that it was available. Super stoked. Played it for an hour. Didn't touch it again, right? Until I got back. I went on, I was like, oh, I'm gonna there's a digital deluxe version. I'm gonna go upgrade to it. And it's like, you already own this. That was a quick thank you from Larry. And if you did early access, they gave you the digital deluxe version.
That's pretty sweet.
I think so. I mean, it's only $10, but you know what?
Most companies just like, they give the early access is just cheaper. And they're like, yeah, you already saved your money. We're not going to like give you anything extra on top of that, know. And so the fact that they gave you the $10 upgrade for free is really cool.
Yeah, because they didn't do it any cheaper. It was still a $60 game, but that's a $60 game. Now think about any other game right now. It's $70.
Starfield's $70.
Yeah, so it's But all right, moving on. I'm probably gonna buy Armored Core. You should buy it too. Just kidding.
Done.
I need to buy Ratchet and Clank too, but shit. I wasn't aware of this. You're gonna enlighten me here. Destiny 2 is burning to the ground even more.
Yes.
Go.
So not only, I think just because of all the other things that we've brought up about Destiny, a lot of the content creators getting burned out, but their player decline has just been like going downhill kind of like ever since. And then it all kind of culminated with this like state of the game where the game director, they didn't do it like they normally do it, where it's like a letter from the game director, like the game director. He does it very personable. He is very open, puts his opinions in it, right? Like he's like, yeah, man, I fucked up. I made this decision that led us down this way. Here's how I'm gonna like fix it. Here's how we're gonna rectify it. And it's usually just like really like kind of like heartfelt, like, hey, here's what happened, or here's where the state of the game is, here's why based on my decisions, and here's what we're gonna do to like, in the next like little bit to try and like make it better. Or if the game's like doing really well, kind of they just like peel the corporate curtain back a little bit and like, hey, we're people, we're here to make a great game. Well, they didn't do that this time. They had a few different people work on it, but they all came across much more corporate and closed, and basically said that like they don't make PvP maps and they don't put time into PvP because nobody plays it. And so,
oh, I bet that, dude. The biggest YouTubers for Destiny are fucking PvPers. Like, obviously, you got some, like Dado on that. He's not PvP focused, right? He's more PvE and raids and stuff.
He still
right?
does plenty of PvP.
He still plays it, but then you look at like Cross, Across, and so, oh man, I need to look up see if he has a video. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, yep. And so like obviously the PvP community was kind of like outraged, and everybody's like kind of kept creating this chart. It's like, you don't come out with any new content for the game mode, less people play it. Less people play it, so they're not going to invest as much money into it. Nobody's playing this content. We're not going to put as much money into it. And it's just like, that's like, they're just like bleeding down everything that I think like diversifies and makes the game great. All these other game modes, because nobody plays them, but they don't put any attention into it. And so they're strictly going off of like, routing the money for the game, their budget, into what people are playing. And so I think people aren't playing PvP and Gambit because A, they're not in a great state. B, they haven't had any content come out for them. And C, like when an expansion comes out or a new season where everybody's focused on getting power, like PvP is like what you do afterwards, after you're done kind of with the season or after you're done for the night of grinding and stuff like that. And so, yeah, Bungie has made the grind longer and more difficult. So I think all the players are focusing on the grind, and then they never get to the PvP portion. And why wouldn't they play PvP when there's nothing new for PvP?
Right.
There's no rewards. The players are going to go where the rewards are. So if there's no rewards, there's no players, or very few players. And then what is the state of that look like? And then how much like content is new for that? And for PvP, all three of those have been terrible. So obviously everyone was, all the PvP community was like outraged by this and said like, you've made how much money? What do you mean there's no money for maps? And so they do one map a year. It's like, is basically what they said. They're like, yeah, we come out with one new map with the yearly expansion, and that's it. We found that like map packs like don't bring people or don't make us money or whatever. I don't know exactly how they worded it, but man, PvP people are pissed.
It doesn't matter if it makes it doesn't matter if it makes you money, if it's making it. Obviously, they need to make money, but if they're making a shit ton of money elsewhere, it's okay to like cut your losses on something that's going to make a certain group of people happy that are fucking purchasing things elsewhere. So what if the map pack doesn't make you direct income?
Mm-hmm.
If those people are happy and all they're buying cosmetics or they're buying the season passes more often, like that's a dumbass statement. That's ignorant, dude. That's stupid.
It was. And so then the game director, Joe Blackburn, like came out after a week or two after and like released like, a new video and an update and saying that like, hey, yeah, like these are the way things were. We're not like happy about them, but like, we have a like budget to stick to and things to like make, hard decisions to make. And so based on the community outcry, they're developing a PvP strike force, and they're going to come out with like a bigger map pack like down the road and like commit to like updating PvP and getting PvP into like a good spot. And they're going to, as a It's like, hey, we're sorry. They're going to take one of the armor sets that usually goes to Eververse, and they're going to make it a pinnacle reward for PvP.
I'm so glad I quit that stupid fucking game, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What?
So like that's, I mean, it just shows like where their decisions are going. It's like all the microtransactions that we talked about previously, and they've been doubling and tripling down on microtransactions, and they just won't make PvP maps. Like, I
Why?
mean, one map a year. I don't even think they've been doing that. Like that's just a new thing because they haven't been doing that the entire thing like
Oh
time
no.
because there'd be at least 6 or 7 new maps in the game, and we've been playing the same like 6 maps that Destiny 2 launched with 6 years ago.
I'll randomly tune into like Geekermon. He was the guy I watched most for PvP content because that's all he did daily was just a PvP match or two. Same shit, same map. I'm like, holy fuck, man! Like, are you happy you stopped playing?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Dude,
It's
it's
just
like,
like such a mental weight like off of my shoulders, and I can really like see like what their like business model is and how they're trying to get people, and it's not fun anymore. And it sucks. It hurts me because like if Destiny was good, then that's the game I'd love to play. And honestly, like I don't know, I haven't been well. There's a couple brief expansions that I was really in love with Destiny 2, but I don't think it's been as good as D1. Like since I just enjoy the D1 model, the expansion based system, the focus on PvP. There was so much more like goodwill towards the developers and like kind of like when they like say different things. Um, yeah, so I mean it's just like it's more words. Like they always promise things. They like when they said that it's just like misleading consumers based on their words. It's like, oh, like your guys' purchase of this singular cosmetic paid for um the like last whisper like quest, or the whole like mystery exotic dungeon that we just randomly like were able to drop into the game. It's like, okay, this is like what they're doing with our investment and microtransactions. I'm going to spend like more money on microtransactions because it means they have enough money to make more content in the game.
right.
And then they just never did any more of that. Like it's so stupid. I can't believe it. They only doubled down on making content that made them more money and not surprise free amazing content that they had made a name off of.
The thing with this that drives me nuts, Destiny has a looter shooter experience, or had a looter shooter experience that it literally created a shift in the market where publishers and developers were trying to recreate it because it was so good.
And
Now,
a
if
live
it,
service model that like
yep, if it was so good, why the fuck did they try to change it so much? You know what I mean? Like, dude, I had such good experiences with the community, playing with friends, the loop, right? It was in a very good spot until they started making these abrupt changes that pushed me out.
I
So
mean
it's
the
I just
looter shooter experience was top tier looter shooter. Like I was reminiscing when I had heard all this the other day that in D1 you'd do a raid and get the armor set, and it was the coolest armor set in the game. Or you do the raid and you get the shader, and it was the best shader in the game.
yep.
And then
Or
you got to put that on, and everyone knew how amazing you were.
yep. Or
at
the
the
Nightfall
game.
Halo.
The Nightfall Halo, when Nightfalls were challenging, or the Strike armor sets that were like hard that you had to like beat the Strike on like different things, and you get the unique piece for it. It made you like be able to like flex, and people like knew that you could do this and that you could carry them, and you'd be like, yeah, well, I'll carry you through this. I did this on challenge mode, or and like everything was geared towards doing the hardest stuff in the game because that's where the best loot was. That's where the coolest cosmetic loot was. Like that's where you wanted to get the stuff. it's no longer like that in Destiny 2. Like you get the best weapon from the season pass, grinding thousands of hours into it, and then you buy all the cool shaders and armor pieces. The raid armor pieces suck. They're terrible. The shader system is a whole like a whole microtransaction based thing. You no longer get incredible shaders like Chatterwhite or Glowhoo or all these like really cool things. And so it really stinks that the game has gone so far away from what really made them successful. And it was those awesome looter shooters that like pyramided up to the hardest content in the game, and that's where like everybody wanted to be. And then B, the PvP was incredible. You could just go have fun in PvP for 6 hours straight and just have an absolute blast. You could turn your brain off and just play. You could listen to a podcast and just like grind out, and there's like a stress relief. And it hasn't been like that and since D1.
Yeah.
PvP wise, personally, in my opinion.
Or even like when D2 first launched, like not at initial launch because it was pretty barren. But then I would say like 2018, 2019, when I got back into it pretty hard with you. I remember the pinnacle weapon grind, stuff like that, just it would draw you in, and that's what really kept me as a player. And the minute that stuff disappeared, I'm like, gone.
Yeah, like
see ya.
It was kind of this like, slow burn, it's like they slowly either gave us things while taking away things from us. Like, okay, they took away like the raid shaders and the raid armor being good, but they gave us pinnacle grinds.
Yep.
It's like, okay, we still have something to chase. We still have, these amazing weapons to like show off that like we're really good at the game and to get. And they took those away and they didn't replace it with anything. And so you're left with just like season pass grinding. Like that's what the game's like become. And it's not fun. And they just like make content that's gonna get deleted from the game in that calendar year. Some of which had only been out for 3 months or 4 months. That the next calendar year, the next expansion, we're cutting all that.
That's a hard pill to swallow. Like, hey, I just spent hundreds of hours
and dollars and like myself, like I took a break and then I came back before the next like yearly expansion for this past one, and I was like, I'm not going to do these things, I'll do them once the next expansion comes out. And then just took them away from the game.
They're gone.
So stuff that I had paid for that hadn't gotten to yet is now gone. Is just gone. Just took it away from me. And so if no one's gonna like pour their heart and soul and passion into making great content if they know it's gonna leave the game in a year. And I think they need to slow down their release cadence instead of doing, I don't know how many seasons they do in a year, 4 or 3, but they need to drop it down to either 2 or 3 and make stuff that's better for the game.
So I never thought I'd have this conversation. Bungie's doing bad. 343 has restructured their personnel, and they are on the up and up.
That's what I hear.
Halo Infinite
Forge game modes are bringing people back.
Yeah, not even just that, but they're introducing these community built maps, game modes.
They've made it with this whole Forge thing. Has made it basically like Epic's Fortnite. So like Epic like launched like the builder or creator in Fortnite, and they can just like make whatever game they want to make inside of Fortnite, and like this like low key has become a thing in Halo where like people have recreated this like weird internet like sensation game called Only Up. They've made it in Halo where like you have to like keep going up in these harder and harder jump challenges, and if you fall, you're just as far as where you have to like it's extremely like challenging, kind of like a Dark Souls style platformer. But like this just for me, this just came out of like complete left field. Like how are they
I think what happened is the team that did the Master Chief Collection got moved to Halo Infinite.
Okay.
So you have the right people in the right place now. So yeah,
Well, that also I think means that it took Microsoft probably took its corporate cash cow eye off of Halo Infinite, right?
Right.
Oh, it got declared dead. I'll move it here. We don't care what you do with it now. Do whatever you want. You know, like when Halo Infinite came out and you got XP based on like playtime versus like how well you did.
Right.
And the developer, you know, the developers like, hey, we told corporate that this wasn't going to turn out well, and it didn't. And they said, nope, you have to, you know, this is how we're shipping the game. It's like, okay, like how many people are talented there at 343 and want to do the right thing, but their corporate hands are tied because Microsoft is trying to make money off of Halo instead of selling consoles that make them money off of Xbox.
Right. I think we talked about this, and I've thought about this before. I never want to see a developer fail or get, you know, people on the internet take shit way too far. So I'm sure there is a lot of developers there that are very, very talented. Their mind's in the right spot, and yet they're getting the shit kicked out of them. Which I've said stuff too. You've said stuff. Everyone said stuff. But it's like their hands are tied. You know, it's a sad situation. But to see it where it's at now is exciting, dude. Before I left for training, I think I put 30 hours in. Just grinding, man. Just by myself, playing with you, Casey. Like, it's really cool to have that game where I can just like pick it up, play it a little bit, get sweaty if I want, mess around if I don't, you know, if I don't want to get sweaty. It's cool to see them in a good spot or working towards. The game is in a spot that it should have been on release.
It's getting there. I honestly think all they need, like obviously, like momentum's going up for Halo. What they need to do is drop campaign co-op, and this game will be back in everyone's eye again.
It's already out.
Campaign co-op?
It's been out
in Halo Infinite?
Yeah, it's been out since March, I think.
Oh.
That's what I'm thinking. It's in the spot it should be. It should have been at launch.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow. I hadn't heard about that one.
Yeah, I think Austin didn't. Well, I think maybe it was. I can't remember. Talking to someone, I was like, "Yeah, dude, I released. Forge is out. You know, the rank systems.
Forge is out.
Yeah, Forge campaign co-op's out too.
They need to market that better because
well, dude,
so many people
everything's
were like waiting to play the campaign and just never did because of campaign co-op. That's wild. Did we talk about that on the podcast here?
Yeah, so it said the winter update of 2022, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, November 8th, 2022. So, no, I don't think we did talk about it because for whatever reason, the marketing on it, the only reason
this is like flying under the radar.
Yeah, the only reason I noticed is because a few YouTubers I watch, Mint Blitz, he's phenomenal Halo player. He posted something about, you know, whatever the state of Halo, and I clicked on it, and then also my feed for YouTube just turned into Halo, and I started watching, and I was like, holy shit! So I downloaded it, and like the simple things like they introduced like bullet magnetism to mouse and keyboard, this and that. They got rid of crossplay. It's mouse and controller and the same thing. They're trying to make a even playing field. And that was also due to number of players because they used to have, you know, crossplay or mouse and key only. Bunch of maps got introduced. Like, dude, I was playing. Well, we were playing, and I was like, I've never been on this map. Never been on this map. Never been on this map. They're actually
they've like integrated community maps too into the thing. I feel like
so I think it's in a good. It's exciting. It's exciting to see because it gives me hope that even though this Halo flop, because not every Halo is going to be a good Halo. Not every game is going to be a good game. Now, 343 has had a rocky road, but if they can end this one on a good win, and their next Halo is even an option, that makes me happy. Because, dude, I love the lore. I love the Halo community. I don't want to have to be stuck on one game that they said had a 10-year plan, and then it turned into a 1-year plan that they were going to kill it. So
yeah, that hurt.
Yeah, I was excited for the campaign. I think the campaign was phenomenal. I had a blast in it. There was some issues, just like any other game, but overall, looking at that versus Halo 4 and Halo 5, huge improvement.
It was amazing. I thought the campaign drew me right in, and I was ready for this 10-year plan. Like, I think them canceling or saying that they canceled Halo Infinite was like, it hurt worse than me quitting Destiny, because at least I can still go back and watch the YouTube videos of the story for Destiny.
Right.
But like, all right, what were they going to do with this story? Are they going to like literally like, oh, this game's not canon anymore, we're creating a whole new one? Or I don't know. But
I don't know. I hope they continue it on. We'll see. But I think we hit every topic. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, keep the stash. Keep it going. I like it.
That's right.
I like the new background, even though it's a little sad. A little sad you had to switch it up. But yeah, that's all I got, man. Give the people what they want.
Stay nerdy.